Hey YouTube, just gonna give you guys an update today. While I'm on my lunch, ain't got nothing else to do. So I was gonna show you guys real quick just today how I feed the tank. Just a general idea of what I feed the tank. Everybody's looking fat and happy. But anyhow, usually I feed the tank, I try to do every other day. And then if I see the nutrients kind of creeping up there, phosphates specifically, if I see they're getting up there at point like 0.05 or 0.06, like if I see it's getting to that point, then I kind of slow down on the feedings. I won't feed every other day, but then at that point, if I see that they're getting up there, I kind of skip a day. So every other day and then skip a day and then the next day, if that makes sense. But yeah, this is day number 4 with the Radions. And I'm not just gonna say this because I spent 2 racks on fucking lights, but I'm gonna say this because I see these corals every day for 8 hours plus a day. I'm just staring at the tank, especially because I work from home, so I really don't have anything else to do. But when I'm working from home, you could just assume, all I do is stare at the tank, and I do. So I notice the little things, like the little changes. Like I notice all the little stuff happening. And I will say, example number 1, this bird's nest right here with those proms never looked like that. Never was as green. It just wasn't that fluorescent, I'll say. It's almost like the tips were getting burnt, like I said a few videos ago. I think that bird's nest, it was either in a hot spot, but I had tried multiple ways of changing the flow just to make sure that it wasn't getting direct flow. I even talked to some people about the SPS, and they were all telling me the same thing, like they can handle it. You really only have to worry about it when it starts to turn white, but it wasn't turning white, it was just brown. So that leads to believe me that there might have been a hot spot on it. So example number 1, boom. Look how that thing is filling in with color. And then I already told you guys about the shimmer on the ground and all that other stuff. But anyhow, let me get to this feeding. Usually what I feed is just a mixture of mysis shrimp. I usually try to go for the Marine Cuisine brand because they usually have some pretty good stuff. This time I'm just feeding mysis today, so it's just whole mysis. I take the cup, give it a good swirl. I'm not direct feeding today. Today's one of those don't feed the corals but feed the tank days. But when I feed the fish, it's kind of like I indirectly feed the corals, kind of. So that's how I feed the fish and the corals when I'm not direct feeding. When I'm direct feeding, I'll do the same thing, mysis, but then I'll usually put a cap of the Reef fuel in there, and then I'll put probably less than a teaspoon of Reefroids, and I'll mix it up. Here's my syringe. I usually just get the syringe, fill it up, cut off all the flow, and then feed them directly. So this is not going to be one of those detailed videos because, like I said, today is not a coral feeding day, but it's just how I feed the tank, how the corals get their indirect food. That's just how that goes. But tomorrow, I may do a video if I can get my wife to help me. I'll have her hold the camera while I actually feed the crows, so that way you can see how I feed them. But yeah, I'm already noticing some changes. Honestly, the big two things that I noticed between those primes and these Radions, the hot spots, like it's hard to describe, because you know when you set a coral somewhere and it doesn't open all the way, or it starts to become a little bit translucent and it's kind of shrunken in, I can just tell that it's not getting too much flow, it's getting too much light, especially when they kind of become translucent. Not bleached, but just the color's not there. And that's what this green one does all the time when it's under a hot spot. I moved that one multiple times. So ever since I took those primes off, they are extended. I'm talking like they are fat. They weren't touching those zoas a few weeks ago, but ever since I added those primes on the 4th day here, that thing is almost touching those zoas. So that's one of the major changes I can see. The hot spots, I think it may also have something to do with the shimmer, because the shimmer's been cut down. It's almost like it has something to do with that shimmer. Like, yeah, shimmer looks nice and all, but with that shimmer, you know, the lights that are producing it, they may come with the hot spot. So I'm starting to realize the more that you diffuse that light, you get less hot spots. And things tend to like that a little bit more, especially when they're not just getting blasted by the light all day. It's kind of like being in the sun all day. So yeah, I'm noticing big changes already. And this hammer. Well, let me get back to eating my lunch. All right, let me show you the side real quick, because I get a lot of questions about the center on these. So that's pretty much the reason why I was scared to get these RMS mounts, because I knew, one, that they bend a little bit, which they do. They're not like at a 90 exact, but it's not an eyesore to the eye. Like if I back up, I mean, it's not bad. Yeah. They're not dead center, but they're center enough for me where I know the lights are gonna get the rock, they're gonna spread across the whole rock, and they spread across the whole sand bed. So for the spread, if you want the spread, do it. I haven't done a par test yet, but I'm expecting at 60% AB plus, max intensity with 0 reds and 0 whites. I'm probably looking at about at least 100 par when it gets to that point, 60 point intensity. But all right, gotta get back to work, y'all.